Stock Analyzer is a fun little project that I have been working on, written in NodeJS, that can help you keep track of stocks, bonds, certificates, and other tradable items available on the site Avanza. It will analyze the development of items you yourself specify and will send a report of the collected data to your email. Here's how you use it. Clone the repository to your computer. Run an npm install. Please make sure you are using a fairly recent version of Node. I am using Node version 18.7. First, you need to create a file named .env in the root folder. In this settings file you will need to specify your email address, the password for your email account, the key for your OpenAI account, and your name. Do note that currently the script is assuming you are using a Hotmail account. If you use another email service, such as Gmail, you may need to modify the file mailer.js. Check out the function called send mail. The Node library NodeMailer is used in order to send out the email containing the report. Both the email sender and email recipient will be for the email you specify in the env file, so basically it will be as if you sent an email to yourself. When that is done, you will have to configure the file named stocks.js in order to customize which items you wish for Stock Analyzer to include. Simply add links to items you wish to track in the following format. Currently the script only supports links to Avanza. For items that you have invested in, you will need to add an array called transaction costs, in which you specify the cost of each time you bought one of these items. The currency used should be the same that is listed on Avanza for the corresponding item. Now that you are set up, you may run the script directly from your terminal with the following command. The data is scraped from the web pages of the links you specified in the previous step. The scraping is done using Puppeteer, which is a powerful Node library that can be used for many things, such as end-to-end testing or web scraping, like in this case. Puppeteer basically works as a web browser which can open web pages, interact with the DOM tree, and read data from the given page. Here Puppeteer is running in headless mode, meaning it runs solely in the context of the terminal without having to open up a Chromium instance. This is ideal if you want to run a Puppeteer-based web scraping script in a production environment, using a service such as Heroku or Render. Web scraping is a great way to read data from sites that do not offer any form of public API, although it is obviously a lot slower. After the scraping is complete, a table is printed directly in the terminal. After this, the script asks ChatGPT to summarize the current situation of the data collected. It does this by sending a request to OpenAI. When this is done, an email is sent to the specified address that contains the final report. It may look a bit like this. The report is broken down into two tables, one for the items you have already invested in and another for other items you haven't invested in yet, but want to monitor. The report also contains summaries, written by our AI friend, that tries to summarize the current situation and put it to words. As you can see here, it can even give suggestions about which of the monitored items are most likely the best to invest in. Take these advice with a grain of salt though. Even though ChatGPT is great at writing texts and essays, it is probably not wise to invest in stocks solely based on the advice of an AI model that is not specifically trained to understand markets and trading. It is possible to deploy Stock Analyzer as a cloud application, instead of having to run the scraping script locally on your own machine. Here I am using a service called Render. Render is similar to the more widely known Heroku. I opted for Render because it worked better in combination with Puppeteer. Here's how you set it up. First, register a Render account. I suggest you sign up using GitHub, which creates integration with your GitHub account, which will be useful in the following steps. Fork the Stock Analyzer repository to your own GitHub account. Modify the stocks.js file as previously explained and push it to your forked repository on your account. Now you may deploy directly from your GitHub repository to Render. When logged into Render, simply create a new web service. Then choose to build and deploy from a Git repository, and then choose your forked Stock Analyzer repository. Now go into Environment. Here you must configure the necessary secret environment variables that would otherwise be a part of your env file when running locally. Also add these following variables that I show here. Now that your environment is set up, it is now accessible online. When deploying Stock Analyzer to Render, it starts an Express server by executing the file server.js. As you can see here, there is an endpoint called scrape. By calling this endpoint using a simple curl command, Stock Analyzer will start running the scraping script on the cloud application you have deployed in Render. It does the exact same thing as it would do if run locally on your own machine in your Node terminal. Do note that Puppeteer scraping is way slower when executing on Render, at least in this case, as I am using the free tier for my Render account. If you want to run the script on your deployed cloud service on a regular basis without having to call the endpoint manually using curl, there are plenty of services you can use to set up a sort of cron job in order to call the given endpoint on a given interval. One such service is Uptime Robot. Use a service like this to call the scrape endpoint on a specified interval, and then you will receive the email reports without having to do anything yourself. I hope you enjoyed this presentation and that you like my project. There is obviously a lot of room for improvement. If you wish to contribute, feel free to do so, as this is an open source project. All links can be found in the description. Take care.